In September of 2023, Spotify made headlines in Sweden for all the wrong reasons. A newspaper alleged that local gangs were using the streaming platform to launder money and cleverly use Spotify to conceal income made from drug dealing, robberies, and even contract killings. To understand what happened, it's important to realize just how big the music industry is in Sweden. The country regularly punches above its weight in this industry, and through the decades has produced artists such as ABBA, Ace of Base, The Cardigans, Avicii, and Zara Larsson. At the moment, the most internationally recognized rapper from Sweden is Young Lean. Musicians whose lyrics are in Swedish, in particular rappers, are also incredibly popular within the local market. As well as its success in music, Sweden is also known historically as a very friendly and safe country. And while this is generally true on the whole, the country has seen a worrying rise in gang violence. In November of 2023, the country experienced the second highest gun crime death rate in Europe. Gangs were also known to attack their rivals through explosions and bombings. This emergence of gangs in recent history has been a sensitive topic within the country. The political right will say that this is down to immigration, whereas the political left will say that this comes down to poverty. Whatever the case, recent years have seen a huge rise of gangs and gang-related rap music, and the tragic shooting of the rapper Einar in 2021 opened people's eyes to the brutal violence surrounding this particular music scene. In September of 2023, the Swedish newspaper SvD spoke to 5 whistleblowers. 4 of them were gang members in Sweden, and 1 of them was a member of the Swedish police force. All of them alleged that Spotify was being used for money laundering. Gangs in Sweden will have lots of cash earned from illegal activity, and they need to convert this so-called dirty money to clean money. The first thing that they do is convert it into cryptocurrency, which is bought in cash from people they know on Facebook. This cryptocurrency is then used to pay for fake streams on Spotify. This involves fake accounts streaming music on a particular artist and is usually sold on Telegram. This is a sophisticated process where the fraudster will automatically control a huge number of free and subscription accounts, all of which come from different IP addresses. And paying for fake streams is nothing new. In March 2021, Rolling Stone magazine obtained an audio recording of a phone call between a digital marketer named Joshua Mack and a member of the Blueprint Group, a management and distribution group that works with several Grammy award-winning artists. Blueprint was hoping to push an upcoming release of G-Eazy. Mack told Blueprint that his network can generate 200 million streams a month for the company. Mack then admitted that Spotify had clamped down on his ability to illegally boost streams before, but confidently told Blueprint, "We basically cracked the code and understand how to manipulate the system and hit astronomical numbers. Sometimes these accounts will use a VPN to locate themselves in specific countries where there's a higher rate per stream." The issue of fake streams and gaming the system is also used by these Swedish gangs, but with the added motivation to launder money and promote a legitimate business. They'll have their own record label and sign a rapper, and these fake streams will generate income for their legitimate record company. So the dirty money they had from gang activity is now clean. And throughout this process, there's a surprising knock-on effect. The artists that the gang will hire are not just some random gang members. Typically, they'll hire an up-and-coming rapper. The illegal streams will give their profile a boost, and then this rapper will then receive genuine listeners on Spotify. One of the anonymous gang members told the Swedish newspaper that these bots ensured that we ended up on the top charts. The gang member also said that this has been happening from as far back as 2019. I can say with 100% certainty that it is happening. I myself have been involved. The fact that these rappers have earned genuine listeners added further legitimacy to their business, and the mixture of fake and real streams makes their fraud even harder to spot. This is also a win-win for the rapper too. The artist will have substantial ties to a criminal gang, which will boost the authenticity of their lyrics and their overall street cred. According to one of the gang members, "I don't want to sell people out. This is very sensitive. It's about more than buying streams. If you're a network and you want to attract kids and you have a rapper who's going big, that's half the job for you. It is very good for recruiting purposes." Not only were these rappers featured in the Swedish charts, but they were also being nominated for music awards in Sweden. However, it's difficult to gauge how much money these gangs are laundering through this, and they could arguably be making a net loss. In Sweden, 1 million listens will earn an artist 40,000 to 60,000 Swedish krones. This is between $3,800 to $5,700. Because it's not clear how much these gangs are paying for streams, it's hard to tell whether they are making a profit or loss on the converted money. One of the gang members said that they're buying the fake streams in bulk and said if there are large volumes, it's worth it. But ultimately, the cash is now clean and can be used without fear of it getting confiscated by the police. The police investigator who spoke to the newspaper said that he's been trying to sound the alarm about this since 2021 and even reached out to Spotify about it. Spotify denies this ever happening. He damningly said, "Spotify has become a bank machine for the gangs. There's a direct link to the gangs and the deadly violence. But the big question of all is this really happening? When this news story made the news in Sweden and was then picked up by other international outlets, Spotify was forced to respond. In response to the investigation, Spotify said that it is our belief that this story, full of anonymized sources, is largely a work of fiction. Regarding the article by SVD, we cannot comment on far-fetched suggestions and hearsay, and Spotify is not aware of any contact by law enforcement about this. Spotify rightly mentioned that all of their sources were anonymous, but because of the subject matter, this meant that very few people would be willing to go public. The one thing that Spotify did admit to is that fake streams is an issue on the platform, but claims this amounted to only 1% of its overall streams. As we made clear before this story ran, less than 1% of all streams on Spotify have been determined to be artificial. Spotify also separately said that they don't use a pay-per-stream model, and it's a bit more complicated than that. The news about gangs using Spotify for money laundering also coincided with another story that you could earn $1,200 by posting 30-second tracks on the platform and playing it on your phone. Contrary to what you may have heard, Spotify does not pay artists royalties according to a per play or per stream rate. The royalty payments that artists receive might vary according to differences in how their music is streamed or the agreements they have with labels or distributors. The newspaper SVD hit back and said, "We find it interesting that Spotify chooses to discredit the messenger instead of curiously wanting to find out more about the information in order to, if necessary, develop its business for the better. The fact that Spotify, for example, does not know the platform has been used for money laundering doesn't mean it's not true." Spotify's argument that only 1% of streams are fake is also disputed. JP Morgan claims that this figure could be as high as 10%. And even if you accept Spotify's figure, 1% of the billions of streams on Spotify is still a lot of streams in a way that you could make a lot of money. Another interesting study analyzed these fake streams and found that 84.5% of fake streams were hip-hop music. However, until a proper criminal investigation looks into this, we still can't say for certain that money laundering is genuinely taking place on the platform. And regardless of whether these claims are legitimate, the story hits upon two realities about the music industry. For decades, the industry has been linked to criminality, and it has also been linked with people gaming the system. And had these two issues not existed in the music industry for this long, it would have been much easier for Spotify to brush off these claims.